Hey everybody, I'm Stormy Warren. We are hanging out here in Mount Juliet, Tennessee with my hero, American icon, country music Hall of Famer, Grand Ole Opry member, fiddle playing, guitar picking dude.
Come on.
Charlie Daniels. And this is going to be a great hour. You chose the right place to visit us because we are talking about
I'll do that. Go ahead. Go on. You cry and everything.
Boy, this is going to be a great hour, as you can tell. We're going to take a lot of your questions, make them good, better than, never mind. Never Look at the Empty Seats is the name of the book, and it's a memoir focusing on the entire life and career of this man. What are you doing over there?
I am signing books. What does it look like I'm doing?
Well,
Here,
I don't know.
Give me that, and I'll sign this one.
Can people read that?
Yes, absolutely. Look, watch.
Here we go.
See this?
I like that.
Arliedaniels.
That is. Look at that.
Here, you show it.
Here. That's right. For the next hour, he's actually going to be personally signing copies of this amazing book we're going to talk about.
Signature.
It is right there. I see it. And we're going to take a bunch of your questions. A lot of you have already submitted questions, and they're really good. And we're going to get to those in a minute. But first,
and we're happy to have you with us too.
Yes, thank you. Hi, everybody out there. For people just tuning in and watching,
we're very happy to have them with us.
Are you just going to keep interrupting?
No, I'm just want people to know that we're happy to have them here.
I'm happy to be sitting next to you.
You don't look happy.
Why'd you write this book?
You know, Stormy, I have been writing on this book for like 20-some years. I just started making notes and putting things together, and it finally started taking the course of being a kind of a comprehensive sort of story of my life, and so I went ahead and decided to do that. And I wrote it, and I had the book basically done, but I could never find a place to end it. I could never find a time because my career is going on. If I was retiring or something, it'd be a different situation. But
the story doesn't have an ending.
It has no ending. So I decided that when I found out that I was going to be inducted into Country Music Hall of Fame, I thought that was a great place to end it. So it's from my earliest memories, the very first things I remember, up until the night I was inducted into Country Music Hall of Fame.
Over the 20 years of writing this book, what did you learn about yourself? Because not until you actually take a comprehensive look at your life do you actually notice or remember a lot of the things that you actually did. Did you discover a lot along this way?
You know, one of the hardest things trying to remember was the very earliest memories. You know, I don't even know how old I was the first things I remember. I remember the first things, but I don't know exactly how old I was. I know I was in single digits, probably maybe 2 or 3 years old. Mm-hmm. I remember the first time I ever saw snowflakes. It didn't snow that much in North Carolina. It just very seldom ever did, but the first time I ever saw them, they looked like they were as big as goose feathers. They looked like great big things. And I remember going out and playing in it. And, of course, I put that in. And I remember, you know, the day that Pearl Harbor was bombed. I was 5 years old. And they were at my granddad's house. And we didn't have television. We were listening over the radio. And they had this scratchy kind of a shortwave broadcast that was telling about how much destruction had been done to Pearl Harbor.
At 5, you didn't understand it, but you knew something bad was going on.
I knew something very serious was happening. I was not old enough to grasp the gravity of the situation. But, you know, Wilmington, North Carolina played a strategic part in the Second World War, and it's a seaport town. And we had a shipyard there that built Liberty ships. And then if we shipped, I say we, the out of the port of Wilmington, cargo boats and oil tankers left to go out to the mouth of the Cape Fear River and over across the Atlantic Ocean to service our troops in Europe. A lot of them were sunk just off our coast by German U-boats, submarines that patrolled out there. And it was said, I never saw it, I was too young, but it was said that you could actually see the fires of battle from our beaches. So we took the war very seriously. I remember that. My formative years were during from about 5 years old to about 10 years old. We're doing the Second World War, and that's such a huge part of my early memories.
It's a huge part of this book, and it, for me, it's a real telling part because I didn't realize that we were that close to the shore.
Oh,
the battle is that close to the shore.
Well, you know, they had of course, the U-boats. There was a famous. I wish I could remember his name. It was a famous German admiral that they interviewed after the war was over with, but that was his place just out off the coast of North Carolina. And of course, they ran in convoy. They had destroyers with them and everything, but they would come out through the mouth of the Cape Fear River and head across the ocean, and these submarines would
take out
pop off a torpedo. And of course, they were after the tanker, you know, because it would explode with all on it. But I remember those days, and it was it set the tone for my type of patriotism, the way I feel about the military and the nation and the patriotism I feel toward America and the flag and the military and the American way of life.
It's amazing, and it's something you've held on to and celebrated your entire life. And that's
Yes.
why I know a lot of people watch it out there. I mean, we consider Charlie Daniels to be one of the greatest patriots this country has ever known, and it's his complete celebration of anybody who has ever worn a uniform, whether it's a police, fire, military, whatever. It's just you have their back, and you've had it for a long time.
Because they've got our back, is what it comes down to. You know, only two things protect America. You've heard me say this numerous times. I say it on stage every night. Is the grace of God and the United States military. That's it.
It's true.
We don't have anything else.
So,
that's all we need, though.
Not just yourself, but great advice for any entertainer. And what is that quote?
Well, when you're a young musician, if you want to make it, and I did, and you're dedicated to it as I was, and still am for that matter, you're going to play for whoever, wherever, whenever, for whatever. Mm-hmm. I just coined a phrase and didn't realize it. In other words, you'll play wherever you can play for however many people are there for whatever they'll give you, whatever they'll pay you. And you're going to have a bunch of empty seats because nobody knows you to start with. Some people will come out because of curiosity, or maybe they've heard one of your records on the radio, but they basically come out a few at a time, you know. And you're going to it was an emotional night, to say the least, and so glad. One of the things too, it was a joyful night at the same time to see these guys back in circulation again.
40 years ago, that was that plane crash, and I just read an article where a bunch of the survivors went back and went into the swamp where the plane went down, and carved their initials in some trees and went back to visit. What a powerful time to go through.
For sure.
Moving right along, Benjamin. Hello, Benjamin, from Ellenton, Florida. You have influenced so many musicians. But with musicians, what musicians had the greatest impact in your career? And that's a big part of this book.
Oh, yeah. Well, I went through phases. When I first started...
By the way, he also said, "Go Gators."
I didn't say that.
He said that.
You see that? Where were we at? Oh, yeah.
Influenced.
I got all upset here. But don't do that. But... I went through different phases. When I first started playing bluegrass music. It was Bill Monroe and Flat and Scruggs, Reno and Smiley, those people. And then when Elvis came along and the rockabilly thing happened, he made it possible for country boys to play rock music. Because before it was always these huge horn sections and the big bands. And
you actually had a jazz phase for a while.
Later on I did, yeah. But I went through this whole plethora of things, and then when I was a kid, radio stations were not formatted for one kind of music. They played everything. They'd start off in the morning with country music, and they'd play something for the housewives, and then about the time the kids were coming home from school, they'd play whatever the popular music of the day was. I remember when it was big bands. Yeah. And I got exposed to so much music and liked so much music, but when I first started playing, I went from, I'd hear somebody that I really admired, and I really admired, of course, the bluegrass people to start with. Elvis Presley was a huge effect, had a huge effect on me, and all the whole world for that matter. And about the time the 70s rolled around, I started hearing the freedom in the music. Bob Dylan, in my opinion, was the most influential person that came along in my lifetime insofar as changing the face of popular music and giving people a freedom. He had such freedom in his writing. He went wherever he wanted to. He said whatever he wanted to. He talked about what he wanted to. He rhymed whatever he wanted to. And he played as long as if something was 10 minutes long, he just did it. And that started a lot of people, kind of experimenting and kind of experiencing that freedom. Had a big effect on me. God. I played with him. I played records with Bob Dylan. I played on the road with Leonard Cohen, who was a totally different, person.
Interesting dude.
Very interesting dude. I loved the Allman Brothers Band. Yeah. I think Duane Allman was, in my opinion, one of the greatest. Probably the greatest. In my opinion, I'd say if I had to pick one slide player, it would be Duane Allman. And of course, B.B. King. From the Southeast, you
got to get the blues in there.
The blues, yeah. B.B. King and the guys, that played the played the blues guitar, and there's just been so many things. And of course, always the country guys, Roy Acuff and Ernest Tubb and Hank Williams and George Jones and Merle Haggard, and you know what I'm talking about.
Sure, and all of those molded into what Charlie Daniels has become.
Yes.
And for now, people are growing up going, oh, well, I've followed Charlie Daniels and I'm performing like him, and you're the influencer now, and that's one of the coolest things. One of the greatest stories of the book, though, is how there's a lot of self-deprecation in this book. There's a lot of lessons you learned the hard way in this book, and one of them was like, as a young entertainer and musician, your biggest fault was, instead of finding out who you were as an artist, you just copied everybody else for the longest time.
It took me, I came off a 13-year, when I first started in recording, started being a recording artist, I came off of 13 straight years of just bang, slam, copy music, you know, playing in clubs.
Covers, yeah.
And the more that you sounded like whoever you were copying, the better off you were, the better it did in clubs, because people like that. You sound like the record.
Sure.
The more you could sound like the record, the better they liked it. So I got pretty good at that. I got to where I could do it. I would do Elvis Presley's song, and I actually used to do impersonations, and I do Fats Domino, and
You just lost Fats.
yeah, I know it. What a shame.
God.
So many people that I tried to sound like, you know. And so when I got ready to do a record, I got it done and started listening back, and I said, that's just kind of strange, you know, and I did that for about 4 albums, and I finally caught on. What I'm doing here is I am actually interpreting my songs the way I think somebody else would sing them, like whoever came the closest to matching whatever song I was doing. And I said, Fire on the Mountain, 1974. We went to Macon, Georgia to do Fire on the Mountain. And I said, whatever, I'm going to open my mouth, I'm going to sing, and whatever comes out is my style. And that's exactly what I did, and I've done it ever since. But if you were to listen to the first albums we did, the first 4, and then compare Fire on the Mountain, you could hear what I'm talking about. I had a hard time finding my just hard-headed, really, is what it was.
But it's great, and now no one can imitate what you do now, which is cool. Charlie Daniels is here. This is the book. Get signing.
Okay. I'm sorry.
You've got one job to do.
All right.
Bill from Mount Juliet,
Slave
Tennessee.
driver. Bill from Mount Juliet.
Yeah, Bill from Mount Juliet says,
Right on, Mount Juliet.
Charlie, you and your wife Hazel always made me glad I was from Mount Juliet. God bless. That was
God
a nice
bless
comment.
you.
Brian from Morley, Michigan. Did your greatest accomplishment have the same effect on your personal well-being and career as your weakest point? What a cool question.
Now, let me do that again.
Yeah. Did your greatest accomplishment have the same effect on your personal well-being and career as your weakest point, as your lowest moment? Which had more effect?
Both had a lot of effect.
That's a great
You
question.
know something? People ask me sometimes, what would you have done if you weren't a musician, or what if this, what if that? I don't think that way very much. I'm not much of a what ifer, because you start thinking what if, and the first thing you know, you're going to be afraid the sky's going to fall in. Well, what if the ceiling would fall in on the studio? I mean, you start thinking that way. But basically, the way I feel about it is, if you would go back, say you could change something, just by miracle, you go back and change it. It would change the way things came out on this end, because if no other reason, a bad experience, at least you learn a lesson. It's like putting your finger on a hot stove. You don't do it anymore. And I think sometimes when you learn those lessons earlier in your life, you might be better off to have gone ahead and suffered that
Blow.
experience, you know. And so I don't think too much about that, except that I will say that the experiences that I've had, the low points that I have hit, I learned some tremendous lessons from them. And the high points that we've hit, it's a different kind of you appreciate them. You appreciate the low points later on. You appreciate the high points now. Right. So
It's a good answer to a great question. Brent in Crystal Beach, Florida. Who do you admire most in the music business? I know the answer to that one. It's your guy that spends a lot of time in this book.
Oh gosh,
Man who you credit with everything.
Bob Johnston.
Yep.
I have to say, Bob Johnston. I met Bob Johnston in 1959 in Fort Worth, Texas, when he was. I think he was still working at Bell Helicopter, in fact, trying to make it in the music business. He was recording, when he could, writing and all. And he went, in just a few years, he ended up in New York at Columbia Records, and he was producing Bob Dylan, Simon and Garfunkel, Patty Page. I think he even did Louis Armstrong, a record on him. But then he moved to Nashville and started doing Marty Robbins and Johnny Cash and Flat and Scruggs and on and on and on. And he's the guy that brought me to Nashville. Bob did, 1967. And he said, "You want to move to Nashville?" And of course, it's the best move I ever made. So
$20, a broken clutch,
$20 and a broken clutch, yeah.
and a young baby,
Young baby,
and a wife.
right?
And Bob Johnston made your dreams come true.
Bob Johnston was, if I owe anybody, and I do, there's a lot of people that I owe in this business, but him most of all. I honor his memory. I mean, it's just he should be many, many pages in this book, and he is actually.
And one of your albums is actually a tribute in his honor, picking on Dylan.
Yeah.
Christine from Midland, Texas. How is
Just
America?
out there. Hi, Christine.
This is going to be an interesting answer. How is America today compared to when you started in the music business?
Oh my gosh. When I started, basically, I cut the apron strings in 1958. I left Wilmington, North Carolina. I haven't actually lived there since then. But, of course, I go back and see my kinfolks and stuff. But it was, I was just, the first thing I wanted to do is make a living playing music. I wanted to cut the strings, and I wanted to be a professional musician with no other visible means of making a living.
Yeah.
And I finally accomplished it in 1958, and I took off and went up to the Washington, D.C. area and played up there for several years. But the difference being, since let's just take it for the last 40 years since CDB came into being. One thing, technology has changed tremendously. It's changed we're sitting in our recording studio right now. This board that you see behind me here, it used to be what we actually recorded on, and now we just use it to monitor. We just use it to so we can hear, what we want to hear, and everything else is done on a little board about this big, a little computer board. That's changed. There's a machine sitting in that room right there. It's got tape about that thick on it. When we use it, we don't use it any longer. It's just a little chip they put in the computer, and so that's changed a lot. And also on stage, things are a lot quieter. Things are PA systems and amplifiers and that sort of thing. Modes of travel. Back when I started, most of before the super highways ever came in, they were just 2-lane roads, and that's what we traveled on. That's changed an awful lot. Of course, music has changed. It changes about every few years. It changes, in fact. So we've just kind of limped along here, for the last 40 years, and I don't know. I'm ready to go another 40.
How about the spirit of the American people? It's always been there. The spirit of the American people has always been there. Have you seen the ebbs and flows over the years?
I have. I've seen the ebbs and flows, but it's fun. It's a shame that it takes a catastrophic event to kind of pull us all together, like 9/11 or something like that. That we. And I think the reason is that at those moments, we start realizing we really need each other. We want to identify. We want there to be a bunch of us. We want to be as strong and as big as we possibly can. And we're the patriotism in all of us is just below the skin. Sometimes it takes a little something to make it happen. But I saw this country in 1941 and 42 and 43 and 44 and during the Second World War was as close probably to 100% patriotic as it ever has been. It was everybody. People were volunteering for service. People were, everybody, even little kids. We used to go around and pick up tin cans and old newspapers and stuff. It had some effect on the war effort. I don't know what it was, but, we did. And I've seen that kind of come and go and up and down, but once in a while something will happen. And like I say, we saw it on 9/11 that pulls us all together. And I think it's because we really realize that we need each other.
Sure, we saw a little taste of it in Vegas as well.
Absolutely.
And it's
absolutely
sad that, like you said, that a tragedy.
And you were there.
I was there.
When
I was
happened.
there.
Yeah.
But the humanity and the spirit of the people in the aftermath of that was something more inspiring than I've ever seen.
Well, something else too here in Middle Tennessee a few years ago. I don't remember exactly how long ago it was when we had the 1,000-year flood.
Oh, yeah.
I was so proud of this community because everybody they took perfect strangers into their homes.
Yeah.
People set up charcoal grills in their yard and cooked for people, just anybody, made a difference who it was.
Sure.
And people were giving money or making donations, doing this and doing that. And it was such a great thing to see. That's Tennessee.
Yeah, they call it the volunteer state
That's
for a
right.
reason. Charlie Daniels is here. He's got his book, Never Look at the Empty Seats.
And I'm signing it.
And you want one. And it's charliedanielsbook.com. Is someone on the phone over there? Do we have someone? Where? There it is. Carla from Tyler, Texas is on the line. Get this, Charlie.
Yes.
It's Carla's birthday.
Wow. Carla, your birthday is 3 days.
Here she is right
3
here.
days after. Hey.
Hey, Carla.
Your my birthday is 28th of October, so yours is a couple of days after mine, but I bet you I'm a little bit older than you are.
Well, what actually happened is my husband got this for my birthday, and I didn't know anything about it, but my birthday was actually the 10th of October.
Oh, the 10th of October. Well, happy early, late birthday, okay?
And same with you. Happy late birthday.
Oh, thank you.
I celebrated all of October, so we're good.
Well, we're happy for you. Appreciate you calling. What can we do for you?
Nothing. You were on my bucket list, and
Oh, okay.
I guess my husband set this up so that I could.
Oh, okay. So you set it up so you could talk? Well, I'm honored to talk to you, darling. We get down your way once in a while. You come see us, okay?
I will. Thank you.
You're very
Hey,
welcome.
Carla, it's your birthday. It's your birthday. You
Let's
have
sing
one
happy
chance.
birthday to
Oh,
her.
come on.
Happy birthday to you. Never mind, I'll sing myself. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Carla. Happy birthday to you. Now you can talk.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Carla.
Thank you so much.
Okay, darling.
She just got serenaded by a Country Music Hall of Fame Grand Ole Opry member right there. How many people can say that? Not many. And I just got kicked off the stage by one.
No, you didn't. I kicked
Yes,
you
I
off the
did.
stage.
Yes, I did.
You always exaggerate. All I did was push you.
Little shove.
And I didn't push you hard. I just went,
It's a gentle
you're
nudge.
just very weak. That's your problem. You need to start working out,
Yes, sir.
you know?
This is a great hour of time we're spending with the legend Charlie Daniels signing. Or keep signing. Beverly in Dandridge, Tennessee says, "What's your favorite food?"
Oh, gosh. I got so many. I like I was raised on, and I like I guess what they call soul food nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
When I was coming along, it was just
Meat and
everyday
threes.
fare. I like the collard greens and turnip greens and rice and gravy, and that's one of my very favorites is rice and gravy. I guess my favorite dish in the whole world is country style steak with rice and gravy. I like potatoes, and I like lima beans and pinto beans, and I could name you a whole bunch of them. Cornbread, biscuits, sweet tea.
Sweet tea.
Got to have sweet tea.
Can it be too sweet?
No. Well, I guess it could be.
I've had it too sweet.
Have you really?
I've had it too sweet.
Well, I don't know. Don't put so much sugar in it.
My dad,
That's what causes that, by the way.
my dad was a country fried steak fanatic, and he swore that he
yeah.
would. The way you travel, you know where the best country fried steak is. You know which truck stops and
You know
whatever.
what's weird? People ask me, say, I'm coming to Nashville. What's a good restaurant? I say, I don't know.
You stay at home.
I can tell you a good one in New York. I can tell you a good one in Dallas. I can tell you the best Mexican restaurant in the country. You know, I can do all that, but I'm very seldom
Go out in your own town.
So I stay home and eat that food we're talking about right now.
Well, the neat thing is too, where this is coming from is actually your home. I mean, this is
yeah.
Twin Pines Ranch, and Twin Pines Ranch gets a special spot in this book,
does
deservedly
indeed.
so.
It does indeed.
Because how many years here now at Twin Pines?
We actually bought the place in 1976. We moved out here in 1979. So in another year and a half or so, it will be 50 years, 40 years.
40 years.
Yeah.
And this place is home. It's paradise. It's everything. to you.
It's everything. Yeah, I live about, oh gosh, probably a quarter of a mile from here as the crow flies. If you could just go straight that way, you know, my house. And we've been here. I've tried to surround ourselves with. I live in a log house. Our office is right there. It's in a log house. And where you're looking at right now, this is our recording studio where we do our records. The office is probably maybe 50 yards up that way, but all of our business takes place out here. Our office staff, in fact, there's some of them sitting around out here now. Our office staff works every day there. We have We have everything's located here.
Yeah.
You know.
And it always has been.
Yeah, always has been. Yeah.
And by the way, talk about loyalty is a two-way street. The staff that works for the Charlie Daniels Band, many of them well over 4 decades with you.
Over 40 years.
That's amazing. And that's like I said, loyalty is a two-way street, though, isn't it?
Well, you know what? Yes, it definitely is. I mean, but it should be a two-way street. You know, you don't if you're not loyal to your people, you don't deserve for them to be loyal to you.
Yep.
It's just like the Bible says: you treat other people like you want them to treat you.
There's speaking of that, a lot of questions about your faith in here.
Okay.
It says, Amanda says, not quite a question, but more of a statement. I admire and appreciate the Christian man that you are. Thank you for sharing your belief with us through Facebook. Not many celebrities are that comfortable in their beliefs to do that. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
And it's something that you take great pride in sharing your faith.
The hardest chapter that I wrote in the book is a chapter on my faith. And the reason being was not so much what I believe, but expressing what I believe, because I had arrived there after a long, kind of a laborious journey, in that I was born in a Christian family, and I heard all my life, Jesus died for your sins, but I believed it, but I never knew why. I never understood why, because nobody actually sat down and explained to me about the new covenant that Jesus brought to earth. And so I started out when I was a kid, not when I was a kid, I was well along, to discover what I believed and why I believed it. And I wanted to convey that in the book. So I took a lot of time, and it was probably one of the most, in fact, it was the most analyzed chapter in the whole book, because I wanted to get it exactly the way I felt. So I started way back in Abraham's time, back in the Old Covenant, when God came to Abraham in the ancient city of Ur, which, by the way, I've been to.
Not just once.
Actually, I went to Ur. We were there on an Easter. It's in Iraq, and it happens to be located on one of the Talil Air Base, one of our air bases there, and we played there. So we got to go there. Somebody actually located the birthplace of Abraham there, and
wow.
And actually we went to Easter sunrise services there. But anyway, I start way back there and I come all the way up through the Old Covenant, up to the New Covenant, and so on and so forth. And I wanted to make sure I was right about that. I wanted to make sure I put it down exactly the way I felt.
And it reads that way too. It's a fascinating chapter of the book, but there's everything in here. Andrew from, I don't want to mispronounce this.
Let me help you.
Powhatan?
Powhatan.
Powhatan.
Yes.
Okay, Powhatan.
Now you know.
Jeez, okay.
Right.
Thank you. Where did you get the idea for The Devil Went Down to Georgia?
You know, that is probably, it's all in here, but it's probably the most mundane, boring story you ever want to hear. We were doing an album called we were doing an album called Me and My Reflections, and we had written and rehearsed an album's worth of material. Had literally gone into Woodland Sound in Nashville and started recording, and come to the glaring conclusion that we didn't have a fiddle tune and we needed one. So we literally moved the equipment out of the recording studio into a rehearsal studio, and I had this line in my mind: "Devil Went Down to Georgia," and you know, as I look back on it, it sounds like a line out of a song. "Devil Went Down to Georgia." If I had not written the song then, and a line popped in my mind now, I would probably write a song about it still. So anyway, we started with the band, and you know, he play this, play that, play the other thing, and then Tess came up with this da 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 da, and we were off and running. I went off and wrote the lyrics. We went back and recorded it, but it was a matter of necessity, basically, as much as anything else.
When you guys finished it and you wrote it as a band, you're very cool to be sharing most of the songwriting credits with your band, and that's no exception. Did you guys get together, high-five each other, and say, we just wrote ourselves a smash hit?
No, we did not, because I didn't know. You know, you don't know. I thought it would do good. At radio at that time, our bread and butter radio was album stations, where they go 2 or 3 cuts deep on an album if they like the music. But I felt it would do good at that format, which, as I said, was our bread and butter. But I had no idea that it was going to, you know, kind of break both ways, because it started pop and then broke country.
Yeah.
And it was #1 country, and I've topped, I don't know, 5 maybe or so pop. and it just started playing all over the country, and the records started walking out of the stores, and I mean, it was a wonderful experience, but it was almost breathtaking because it happened so fast.
Sure.
And then Ron Huntsman came out on the road, said, "I got some news for you." He'd come to me deliver it personally. He said, "You have your first platinum album." And it was like, and since then it's gone on. Subsequently, it's multi-platinum
Several times over.
Yeah, and it's just amazing to me. I mean, to look back at writing that song as quickly as we did. Some of the other stuff we spent months on, and we did the fiddle tension, and then the fiddle parts. I've had people ask me about the fiddle parts. The Devil's Fiddle part has got 7 fiddles on it. Nowadays, it would probably be done electronically, but we did it organically.
You played all 7
I
parts?
played all 7 parts, yeah. And Paul Grupp, who's a genius of an engineer, he's about 21 years old at the time, and Paul came in here with John Boylan, who produced the album. He brought him in from Los Angeles, and he just put the whole thing together, and that's what we ended up with.
Do you remember that session so vividly too?
I do. I remember it pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember doing those fiddle parts and trying to figure. I even used an 8-string fiddle. It was strung like a mandolin.
Yeah, really.
I wish I still had it. I don't even know what happened to it. I don't know where I got it from, but.
You are obviously known as an incredible fiddle player, and you have your own unique style, which you talk about in this book.
It's because I play wrong. Because I hold the fiddle wrong. I do everything wrong. I just learned on my own.
Yeah.
Nobody taught me how to hold a fiddle. I can't read music. Nobody taught me how to play it, how to hold the bow. So what I do, actually, is I hold the fiddle wrong. You're supposed to, I can't even do it. Obviously, and you're supposed to hold the bow, very delicately, and I hold the bow and I mash too hard on the strings, and that's why I break so many bow hairs, because I mash on the strings too hard with the bow. But it gives me a harsher sound.
Sure.
If you hear my fiddle playing, you can usually tell it, not because it's right or because it's well done, but because it's all wrong. It's like I have kids ask me about playing fiddle. I said, don't look at me. Go look at Mark O'Connor or some of the guys that do it right, because I don't do it right,
What you do very right is play the guitar, and often overlooked when looking at the career of Charlie Daniels is the impact your guitar playing has made in the studio, on your own music, and when you see you play live, it's really the most fun you're having on that stage is getting to just jam. I mean, the guitar is so much a part of you.
I love jamming, especially. I got the best band I've ever had. Just to get on stage with these guys every night's a thrill. And I am not a natural musician. I have to work a little harder. When we rehearse things, we rehearse here too, and out in the studio we go set up our instruments and rehearse when we get ready to do a new tour, and we do something new. And it takes me a little longer to get my part. I have to work a little harder at it. Some of the guys, it's like falling off the log, But to me, it's just takes a little more effort. But I don't mind that. I'm not as natural. The part about me that's natural as far as music is concerned, I think, is the songwriting. I think that seems to come to me more naturally than the playing does.
Well, and that's why you're one of the greatest storytellers we've ever had. And storytelling in music is become almost a lost art form. There's the true story in a song, but everything from Devil Went Down to Georgia, Uneasy Rider, Legend of Woolly Swamp, Trudy. There's a question about Trudy up here, actually. I mean, these are stories that leap from your car speakers, and you see the movies. And I'm sure as you're writing the song, are you seeing those characters? Are you seeing those?
When I didn't see a picture of a TV set until I was about 14, 15 years old. So my concepts of things came from visualizing. I used to listen to radio. When people listen to radio, just like they'd sit around in the living room and listen to radio, just like people sit around in the living room and watch TV now. Those shows would come on, they weekly shows. They'd come on once a week. And then there was the kids shows that came on every day, in the afternoon, the Lone Ranger and all. But I was always able to visualize, what was going on, what was happening.
Yeah.
People riding out across the desert and shooting at each other or whatever. And everything became visual to me because of just hearing it and kind of visualizing it. So I think that helped me writing songs. There was one radio show. It was called Inner Sanctum, and it was like a horror show, back in those days. It opened with a real just that was a squeaking door, And my mom and dad used to listen to it. It came on kind of late, and I think I was supposed to be asleep, but I'd be laying in my little bed, and they'd have a radio on listening, and I'd hear that, Now it's time to open the squeaking door. You know, and it would go this weird music, and it was inner sanctum, and I'd see boogers all over the road, man, out of the lantern. You know, that's what I visualized.
Yeah.
You could visualize it. You know, you could see it because you didn't see it on TV. You had to come up with it yourself. So I think that helped my songwriting probably.
Sure, and you even have a book of short stories, extended versions of many of your
Yes.
of your songs, which is great. So Anna in Coolidge, Arizona says, "What is the song Trudy about?" And that is one of my top 3 favorite Charlie Daniels songs of all time.
You know, Trudy, it's just
Call
kind of a
it Trudy-o.
nonsensical song. I remember one night in El Paso, Texas. I remember an incident that happened. Which has nothing to do with the song, but there was this guy that had a 6-pack of beer, and he was drunk, and he was walking down the street, and he was walking on the sidewalk, and he insulted somebody. This is a pretty sordid tale. And this guy hit him, and he turned a complete flip. And I never will forget, he still held on to that 6-pack of beer. But there was a lady, I think my friend was dating a girl called Trudy or something. It was somebody named Trudy. Mm-hmm. I remember Trudy. I don't know why that would, but you know, a lot of times it's what happens. Like, one thing that has really nothing to do with the other will start you thinking about something, and you'll start writing, and you go in a completely different direction. Sure. So I don't know if that guy hitting the ground and holding on to that 6-pack was what did it, or if it's a lady named Trudy. Yeah. That I remember. It just kind of all came together, and I sat down and wrote a song.
You got a lot of your songs along the pathway are tales of guys getting in trouble.
Yeah, oh yeah. Well, I've been there too.
That's what I was going to get to, and that's all in this book too.
Yes,
you don't shy away from it.
Oh,
It's a very important part of the story. Let's see. Well, you kind of touched on that, Bridget, from Orlando, Florida. Do you have any advice for country songwriters?
I have advice. Yes, if you got a talent, pursue it.
That's it.
But if you're going to pursue, let's just take this and say if you're going to go into the music business, because I get a lot of people ask me about that, about going into becoming a professional, and I would say my first advice is make sure you love it enough to do it. And when I say that is, if make sure you love it enough to take the rejection, take the disappointment, to take the sacrifice of being away from your family, your loved ones, your home, missing birthdays and anniversaries and all the things that people usually get around together on. Mm-hmm. And if you can't take that, you can't be in this business because you're going to have it. You're going to get your heart broken time and time and time again. And there's nothing wrong. Everybody don't have to be a professional. You stay home and play the lounges on the weekends. You know, or you don't have to be a professional musician. If you love music, there's other places you can play it. But if you want to come out here, you want to do that, you know, be ready to grow some very thick skin. And where you can take disappointment. If you can't do that, then don't try it because you'll be a miserable person.
This book is filled with advice just like that. One of my best pieces of advice, one of many pieces of advice I received from you over the years. I was concerned about having a project of mine work, and you said, well, the answer's simple. You know how you become successful at whatever you tackle? Do it better.
Do it better than anybody else
and
does.
I've always thought that was the greatest piece of advice. So simple, but it's the absolute truth.
Well, it is.
Deborah in Marissa, Illinois. We already touched on the food. What would your favorite dinner meal be? It would be soul food again, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Country style steak and rice and gravy.
We're going to go technical here. Danny in Atlanta, Georgia. Favorite electric guitar and amp?
Favorite electric guitar is the one I play. It's called a Southern Rock. It's a reproduction of a '59 Les Paul. It was a series of guitars that Gibson made, but maybe 2 years ago. It gave me one, gave Dickie Betts one, gave Gary Rossington and Jimmy Hall, and a few of them they gave them to, and then that's how they introduced it. And then I like mine. I had a '59. And I like this better than I did the original '59. But my favorite amplifier, I use Marshall 50 watt. I used to use 100 watts, but things are kind of calmed down a little bit. Yeah.
You need some more books over here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Charlie is signing each one personally. CharlieDanielsBook.com if you would like to join the legions of Charlie Daniels fans that are going to now know everything about you.
And by the way, I'd like to tell you, anytime, if you get, this is one with book plate in it.
Mm-hmm.
If you get this book and it's got my name in it, I wrote it.
Mm-hmm.
We don't allow anybody else to sign my name. Anything you see with my name on it, especially a check, I'll write checks. It is this. If you get a book with my signature in it, I sit here at this table or somewhere and I signed. I signed it. So it's not, you're not getting somebody else's signature or one of those, what do they call those things where you write one time and it does 1,000 things? Autograph pen.
Autograph pen. Yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, I sit here and sign every one of them personally. So anyway, I want to get that off.
Charlie
'Cause with
Daniels
you being
book.
here and everything,
Come.
I did-
I tried to sign your signature and you slapped me. This is great. Carlos in DeRidder, Louisiana. Have you ever been starstruck, and who was it?
I was starstruck. I sang the national anthem at a Pittsburgh Steelers opening game one time, and they put me in a. I went in a booth, one of the boxes, and L.C. Greenwood and Mean Joe Green were both in there. Of course, they were both retired.
Yeah.
And I said, "Wait a minute." I never asked for autographs, but I did that day. I don't say starstruck, but very, very impressed by sports figures. Mm-hmm. If I ever met Hank Aaron, he's my all-time favorite baseball player. But I run into people once in a while. But I am amazed by who they are, but I'm really impressed by what they are.
Yeah.
If I meet somebody and they're flighty or stuck up or something, I don't care for them anymore. But if I meet somebody and they're nice people, I always remember them.
Mickey Mantle's a big part of your life.
Mickey Mantle, yes, Mickey Mantle was a great guy, man. I'll tell you what, he incredible baseball player, but also an incredible person. I'm so glad I got to know him before he passed away. He was down to earth old Oklahoma boy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's so cool. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready for that.
I have in my hand a list of 22 questions. We are going to ask them very fast, so you're going to have to pay attention.
Okay, let me sign this last book here.
Yep, absolutely. So this is going to be quick. It's going to be down and dirty. Don't think about
How
your
long
answers.
you want?
Free association.
Rock on.
Right on. Here we go. Are you ready? Count it down together. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Go. Who inspires you the most?
Oh, a person inspires me?
Yes.
Jesus Christ.
Who would you like to trade places with if you could? Jesus Christ?
No, I couldn't do that. Nobody does that. I don't know. I don't think I'd trade. I wouldn't trade places with anybody.
Great answer. Who makes you laugh the most?
My wife.
Who would you want to play you in a movie?
Well, Robert Redford.
Of
Who
course.
else?
Well, look at
have
that.
No
Spitting
idea.
him.
I don't know. Who been.
What is your favorite song that you wrote?
Porky Pig could play.
You
You can do it. It's you. Grow your beard with dyed white.
I'm just trying to be like Charlie. What is your favorite song that you wrote?
I don't really have one. It's like asking somebody you've done all these things. They wrote all these songs. It's like asking them if you had a bunch of kids.
Kids,
who your
yeah.
favorite kid was.
Fair enough. What one thing do you need to have in your refrigerator at all times?
Milk.
Milk.
Sweet Aphrodopoulos.
Very good.
I'll write a song about that. Sweet Aphrodopoulos. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Who is your favorite country musician? Sweet
Repeat the
Aphrodopoulos.
question, please.
Who is your favorite country musician?
Favorite country musician? I really don't know. There's so many I like. I love George Jones. I love Merle Haggard. I love Hank Williams. I love Roy Acuff and Ernest Tubb and all those guys. And, that's whose shoulders we stand on.
Sure.
Because they built the foundation and we stand there.
There's a lot of people standing on yours now.
Right.
What is your dream car?
My dream car is parked right outside. It's a pickup truck.
Always been that way?
Well, no. When I was a kid, I would love to have had some kind of fancy car. But to be honest with you, out where I live, you got to have 4-wheel drive.
No kidding.
Because I live on a hill and it gets icy sometime, and I might want to go back and play in the mud.
Do donuts on your own range.
Donuts.
Who is the last person you called or texted?
The last person I called or texted. Gosh, let's see. I called somebody this morning. I think I called David Corlew this morning.
Your manager, longtime friend,
No, it's
manager.
Paula.
Paula.
I
Also.
called her after I called him, yeah.
Paula's raising her hand. I think it was me.
Yeah, it was.
What is your secret snack?
Secrets. I don't have secret snacks. I just pick it up and eat it, man. I like everything, just about. The only two things that when I was a kid, the only thing I didn't like was liver. I did not like liver. I could almost even eat liver now, but it's not my favorite.
Okay. Do you have a favorite sweet snack?
I like chocolate. I love chocolate.
What item would you love to get your hands on if it went up for auction?
Gosh, I don't know. John Wayne's pistol.
Ooh, that is a fantastic answer. That would be really cool.
That's 6-shooter.
What is your biggest...
I do that with. I go.
Walk around the house. The visual of that is just singing, spinning your gun, singing "Sweet F."
I'm gonna give you half the rider's royalty.
What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve.
And it's not the guy sitting next to you.
My biggest pet peeve. Gosh, traffic runs me nuts. Sometimes I have a doctor's appointment in Nashville. I live about 30 miles out of Nashville, and I'll start in the interstate and say, "Does this go on every day? How do you put up with it? It takes longer to get to town. It does. You gotta go. You take long getting there, the whole doctor's appointment and everything does, and you get back home quick because the traffic's kind of.
Sure.
Anyway, I don't like traffic.
Got it. And it's getting worse here in Nashville,
Right.
by the way.
Yeah.
How do you take your coffee?
Usually black, but I'll tell you a little secret.
With a little sweet acidophilus.
Sweet. I do. I use it.
See?
Sweet acid. Yeah, on my
Coffee.
tea in the morning. I use it. I drink Bewley's Irish breakfast tea every morning instead of coffee.
Huh.
I have for years. I have a story about that.
Yeah,
Got time to tell it?
yes, you do.
Right quick, like we were touring in Europe. We were leaving Heathrow Airport in London to come back, and I still had a little English money left. It was not enough to take to trade back in. So we walked in a duty-free shop, and there was this box of tea. It was really nice. So got it, brought it home, started drinking it, and got hooked.
Got hooked.
Yeah,
And
and we found a distributor here in this country, so I get it all the time.
And you you don't drink a lot of coffee
I
any
still
other
drink
time?
coffee,
Yeah.
but I drink tea. And the only thing that keeps me from drinking tea is if I'm on the road and I can't take it along with me for some reason, a hotel room or something, on the bus and at home every morning.
Wow. I learned something new today.
You did.
What is the last album you purchased?
Good gosh, last album I purchased. I don't really know. I don't really remember. But if we're talking about my taste in music, I can go anything from Charlie Parker to Bill Monroe. Maybe 1812 Overture if I'm in the mood for it. I like all kinds of music. I don't put any parameters on what kind of music I like.
Do you remember the last time you actually purchased went out and, with your own money?
I purchase albums once in a while.
Sure.
I purchase albums.
Have you ever gone and bought your own album?
You're selling your own. You're showing your age. It's not albums.
Sorry.
Yeah. Use a proper. Use a proper.
On the list. It says album.
Would you use a proper terminology? Okay. Because how can I answer questions precisely if you had it wrong? What was the last question? Have I ever purchased my own album?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Somebody's got to buy them.
All right.
No, I went and bought a copy for some reason or another.
Sure.
I wanted to give one to somebody and didn't have it or something.
That's so cool. What was the last movie you saw in the movie theaters?
Last movie I saw in the movie theaters. Good gosh, maybe American Sniper, something like that. I haven't seen that, and I don't go to movies very much.
This is the kind of thing that you're not going to find in the book, but only by the cutting-edge journalism that you're witnessing right here. Cutting-edge journalism.
Cutting edge.
What color is your toothbrush?
My toothbrush is white. I use an electric toothbrush.
One of those sonic thingies?
Thing, yeah. Is that Sonic?
I think so.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah.
What is the last book you read?
Sometimes I read 3 books at a time. I'm reading one right now, John Gresham's new book. It's called Red Tavern or something like that. I just started.
He's a great author.
He is a great author.
Do you have any hidden talents that would surprise people?
I seriously doubt it. I don't know what it'd be. If it ain't got strings on it, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. I don't. About the only time I really feel like I know what I'm doing is when I walk on stage at night.
You're a good cowboy.
Well, I can't get on a horse anymore without something to step on. Something to help me step up.
But for a long time, you were a good cowboy?
I did love cowboying. We write about going out cowboying with the guys out in West Texas when I was younger.
Are you a morning person or a night
I'm
person?
a morning person. If I stayed home all the time, I would probably get up about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
On the road, I live a different life because I work later. But I love the early morning hours. That's my most productive time, my most creative time. If
Yeah.
I'm doing something like writing this book or whatever, getting up in the morning, having some beauty's Irish breakfast tea with some sweet
acidophilus.
and I would sit and write.
And if you follow Charlie on Twitter, you see a lot of his pictures that he posts too from the ranch, from the balcony, from the porch,
Yeah,
and it's really cool. What cause is near and dear to your heart?
Any cause that represents children and veterans, our veterans. We have unfortunately dropped the ball with our veterans in the last many years. I remember a time when that didn't happen, and I don't know how it's happened. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of it has to do with politics and politicians and Congress and Senate and presidents and all that kind of thing. But I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. I'm saying this: let's get it fixed. When people go put their lives on the line for us, their lives between us and the people who want to come and literally kill us, we owe them an unpayable debt of gratitude. And we need to see that they get the care that they need, and it's not being done. 22 veterans a day commit suicide. 22 veterans. Now tell me another profession that has a higher rate of suicide, and there's a reason for that, and there's cures for it. We're working now. I say we're working with our Journey Home Foundation, which is I'm a part of, is working now with different organizations trying to come up with something, trying to find out who has the best answer to preventing this suicide. I mean, whatever it is, if it's the surroundings, if it's the coming back from war and walking on unfamiliar ground.
Everything from PTSD.
The feeling, maybe, I wondered sometimes if you get the feeling nobody cares. And I'm going to tell you, if you're a veteran, there's a lot of us that care, believe me.
Yeah. That's great. What is the last gift you either gave or received?
Well, I just had a birthday. My wife gave me a beautiful Pump 22 rifle for my birthday, which I have not even shot yet. In fact, I'll make a home this afternoon and shoot it.
Steer clear of Twin Pines Ranch.
I know you're joking, but I am very, very careful.
I know you are. Yeah. And the last question of the 22, where do you want to go that you have
Are you holding
never...
your hand, the last question?
Yes. I hold in my hand. The final question.
Tell it to me.
Where do you want to go that you have not been yet?
I want to go back. I've been there, but I want to go back to Israel. If I could only make one other trip in my life. I've been to Israel 3 times, and I was told, well, as a Christian, it's got so much fascination. I was baptized in the Jordan River, by the way. Yeah. But I was told that if you go to Israel, change your life. It's changed my life. I have developed a love, a deep and abiding love for Israel and the Jewish people. And I just, I am so fascinated. It's the most fascinating place you'll ever go because you're looking at 7,000 years of history, Old Testament, New Testament, ancient stuff, all kinds of stuff, and it's everywhere.
Wow!
So it's a great. If I could only take one more foreign trip, I'd go there.
This portion of the show brought to you by the Israeli Tourism Board.
True.
Charlie Daniels. The book is called Never Look at the Empty Seats. And you're signing them. Even after we get done with this, you're going to keep signing,
I'm going to keep signing until we get all these signed.
To those, and one could be yours.
Yes, it could.
And CharlieDanielsBook.com. This is a fantastic read. I didn't put it down. I read it completely straight through. And
did you really?
I did. I swear.
I
can read.
I am really impressed. I knew you could read. I just didn't know you could read that long at one time.
I can.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. But it's definitely worth it. He truly is an American icon, Country Music Hall of Fame member, Grand Ole Opry member. He's half a century of music he has gifted us. And now he has gifted us with the story behind the man, Charlie Daniels. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Storm. It's always a pleasure, man.
You will always be my hero.
Let's go drink some
Sweet acidophilus.
Okay.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm Stormy.
I'm Charlie.